السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. So today, inshallah, we'll be talking about the continuation of what we started last week. And so last week we started talking about the rules of the Noon Sakinah, right? We talked about, what is the Noon Sakinah earlier on. And so we talked about what are the rules like that will guard the pronunciation of letters that have the silent Noon, right? That have the silent Noon. So we'll start from where we stopped. So the first one we talked about last week, is about the Izhaar. So we learned the Izhaar, how the Izhaar letters will get pronounced whenever we find them in the Quran. And so there are 4 ways of pronouncing Noon Sakinah and Tanween, right? 4 ways of pronouncing Tanween and Noon Sakinah. So do you know those 4 ways, Abu Qahar? What are those 4 rules of the Noon Sakinah and the Tanween? So we learned one last week. At least we learned one of them last week. Right? We're gonna have a Kahoot quiz at the end of the class today. So we learned one last week, right? So we've already talked about what a Noon Sakinah is and what is a Tanween. So you already know that. So a Noon Sakinah is a Noon that's having nothing, or it has a half sukun on top of it. So that's a Noon Sakinah. So it's having a sukun or having nothing on top of it. So it can either be any of this, right? But anytime the Noon Sakinah is having a sukun like this, it's for Izhaar. So it's an incomplete gunna. So Izhaar, the gunna of Izhaar is going to be incomplete. So instead of you doing sound for 2 counts in Izhaar, you don't do that. So the gunna is shortened because of the Noon having the half circle sukun. So this kind of sukun on top of the Noon is called the half circle sukun. Right? It's called the half circle sukun. So it's used to shorten the sound of the right? It's used to shorten the sound of the Noon. So it's called the half circle sukun. Right? And so anytime you have it together with any letter, right, it's going to be like an incomplete gunna. So we're going to do a bit of exercise on that and go to the next topic of today, which is al-Ikhfaa. So these are some ayat from the Quran that have al-Izhaar. So I wanted to read one of them. So are you seeing the screen?
Yeah.
Make it bigger. So
وَإِنَّ لَكَ لَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا لَأَجْرًا غَيْرَ مَمْنُونٍ.
Yeah, لَأَجْرًا غَيْرَ مَمْنُونٍ. Right? وَإِنَّ لَكَ. So where is the Izhaar there? The Izhaar is there.
إِنَّ.
No. Ajran. Right? So the Izhaar is on Ajran.
Yeah, Ajran.
So because the ghain is a letter of Izhaar. And so because of that, it's going to be pronounced clearly. So Izhaar means an incomplete gunna. So ghain, kha, a, ha, a, and ha. These are the 6 letters of Izhaar. Izhaar has 6 letters. And so when you're pronouncing ayat that have Tanween or Noon Sakinah right before a letter of Izhaar, you're going to pronounce them clearly. What about this one?
وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ.
خُلُقٍ. So you do the
خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ.
Yeah, khuluqin. So you have to pronounce the ayn clearly away from the gunna. And so in Noon Sakinah, when you have Izhaar or a Tanween, you have any letter of Izhaar after a Tanween or after a Noon Sakinah, it's going to be what? It's going to be incomplete gunna. And so the last example before I go to Ikhfaa. How do you read this? So this is what?
مناع
Although we've not learned
للخير
Shadda here, but we've learned Shadda in past in this expert Quran Readers group lessons every Sundays. So the noon here is having a Shadda. So the Shadda is called doubling, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a noon that has a Shadda, this is the most complete gunna type, the most complete type of gunna. And so you've got to double the noon and pronounce it twice. Manna'in.
مناع مناع للخير معتد أثيم.
So this one is a tha, not C. Mu'tadin athim, right? Mu'tadin athim. Say it.
معتد أثيم.
Yeah, so this is the izhar here between mu'tadin and athim, right? Manna'il lil khayri mu'tadin athim. معتد, right? معتد أثيم. معتد أثيم. You see that there, right? مناع للخير معتد أثيم, right? معتد أثيم. معتد. So that is Izhaar. So you're pronouncing the letter clearly, and so you're having a case of incomplete gunna. Because you see, Tanween and Noon Sakin will naturally produce gunna. And based on the lesson we had previously about gunna, so there are 4 types of gunna. So we have the complete gunna, the most complete gunna, which is always present in the letters of Noon and Mim that have shadda. That is the most complete kind of gunna. And the other ones are common in Idghaam and Ikhfaa. So Idghaam, when we do Idghaam and when we do Ikhfaa, right, we have the gunna too. And when you have Izhaar, the gunna is lost, is incomplete. And when a noon or a mim have their own haraka, they have fatha, kasra, dhamma, there's no gunna at all. And so Ikhfaa is another rule of Noon Sakinah and Tanween. And there are 4 rules. We have Izhaar, which is the one we learned last week, which makes us pronounce the gunna clearly, incomplete. We don't do sound. And as you've seen in all examples we've read, mu'tadin. So Ikhfaa, what happened in Ikhfaa is that you've got to hide Tanween in the next letter. So there are 15 letters for Izhaar, 15 letters for Ikhfaa. So Ikhfaa is when the gunna is complete. So or in or the gunna is complete for 2 counts. And so here you're going to pronounce the gunna for how many counts? 2 seconds, right? Or 2 counts. So the gunna will sound or last for 2 counts whenever you're pronouncing Ikhfaa. And what will happen is that you're hiding the next letter inside the Tanween or the Noon Sakin gunna. So the gunna or the Tanween, the gunna of the Noon Sakin or the gunna of the Tanween is going to overshadow the what? The letter. So it's like you're hiding the letter under those gunna of, the Tanween is going to produce a gunna. The Noon Sakin also is going to produce a gunna. And so when you're reading and you have any of the 15 letters of Ikhfaa, so these are Ta, Tha, Jim, Dal, Zal, Ra, Zain, Shin, Sad, Dad, Ta, Za, Faf, Qaf, Kaf. All these letters, whenever they come right after a Tanween or a Noon Sakin, it's Ikhfaa, right? Like the examples that we have here. And so this is going to be Min Fuj. You see that? So you will have to do the gunna, complete the gunna. So the gunna is complete and you have to do it for 2 counts. So gunna is lasting for 2 counts, right? The only situation where the gunna is not going to last for 2 counts is in Izhaar, when the gunna is incomplete. So this one is here, min furuj. So you're pronouncing the Noon Sakin clearly. So this Noon Sakin here, it's going to produce the gunna. How do you pronounce this one here, Abdul Qahar?
Min qarnin.
Yeah, min qarn. So anytime you're stopping on a letter that have tanween, like it has fathat, it has kasratini. So all the I showed you last time. So a fatha, a kasra, a dhamma, a sukun, right? So a fatha, kasra, dhamma, yeah, dhammatani, right? And kasratani. All these letters, all these signs, right? All these harakats. Anytime you see them on top of any letter or at the bottom, and you want to stop, you're going to cancel out all of this and give the letter a sukun, right? Give the letter a afsaku sukun to stop on it. So this is going to be min qarn, right? Min qarn, right? Min qarn, right? Min qarn, right? So you don't stop on the noon and say min qarnin, no, right? You just say min qarn, right? So the noon will have a silent sound because you're stopping on it. So how do you pronounce this one here?
Yanzuru.
Yanzuru, right? Yanzuru. So the ra is going to be elongated, of course, but the tha here is a letter of ikhfa. Or this one here, khalqin jadid. You see how I'm pronouncing it. So you've got to do ikhfa, and so it's for those letters, those 15 letters of ikhfa. So let's try practicing the real, full ayat of the Quran. And so I'm going to ask you, where is Izhaar or Ikhfaa in this ayah here? And then we're going to do the quiz after we've done this. So can you read this ayah here and tell me where in here is Ikhfaa? Read the ayah first. How would you read it? So this, okay, we're going to learn that. Pronounce it. So this is so you see the noon, there's a noon sakin here, you see. So we said the noon sakin will have a complete gunna here, you see. This is a noon sakin here. It's not having any half sukun or whatsoever. So you're gonna say intaliqu.
انطلقوا إلى ذل ذي ثلاث شعب.
إلى ظل ذي
إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعب.
شعب, right?
شعب.
Yeah. So ظل. So this is kasratani here. It's going to be pronounced, for 2 counts. إلى ظل ذي. So you pronounce that with 2 counts of gunna, right? انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعب, right? So in this ayah here, where is the ikhfa rule there? Tell me, there are 2 points where there's ikhfa. Can you tell me where they are?
Yeah. انطلقوا.
So from the ta, right? So the ta is the letter of ikhfa, right? Intaliqu, right? That area is the ikhfa, and the other area is what?
Zillin.
Dhillin, right? Dhillin, right? Dhillin, right? Dhillin. Okay. Now some kids wants to join the portal, but they're using the wrong link. All right, they're using the wrong link. The Zoom link is in the orientation portal. Okay. انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعب, right? إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعب. So ظل ذي is another area where the Ikhfaa is, right?
Yep.
Right? ظل ذي. So that's not, so read the second ayah, and so we're gonna take the quiz. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so read the second ayah at the bottom.
تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير.
وهو على كل شيء قدير.
تبارك.
Right? وهو على كل شيء قدير. Right? شيء
قدير.
So the qaf there, see the qaf there is a letter of ikhfa, and because of that, right? So because of that, it's gonna be what? It's gonna be pronounced. The ghunna is gonna be so solid for 2 count, right? So we're gonna learn something later on. It's called, the difference between the heavy and the light letters. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah.
So there are some letters that are called the heavy letters, right? So there are some letters called the heavy letters. So those letters, when you pronounce them, so they sound so thick that they're gonna sound as if like you're covering the entire mouth. So like cough is among them, right? وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ, right? وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ, right? So what about the next ayah?
أأمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل
Okay.
أأمنتم من في السماء أن يكسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور.
Okay, look at it very well. أأمنتم, right? أأمنتم, right? So the ta and the nun, right? So the nun sakin that comes before the ta is indicating that you've got to do ikhfa, right?
Yeah.
أأمنتم. So that, yeah, so the tanween is gonna stand out 2 count, right? The gunna is gonna stand out for 2 count, right?
Yeah.
But this one is أأمنتم, right? 2 hamza, right? أأمنتم. There's a lot of ikhfa here. So there's one here, right? There's one here, أأمنتم, right? أأمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور. So Ikhfa is between the noon here and the ta, right? And also it's here as well, right? Man fi. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, right? So yeah, okay, we are learning about the rules of Noon Sakinah and Tanween. Both of you, welcome. So sorry that you were going to the wrong link. So you joined another class earlier, right? Yeah, using a different link. So this link is in the orientation portal. Once you joined the program last week or this week, I sent an access to the orientation portal. So that's where you get a link to join the class every Sundays before you finally start your class next week. So Abu Qahar, you're gonna be having your colleagues with you in the class next month, inshallah. So we're learning Ikhfaa, right? We're learning Ikhfaa and Ghunna, right? So Ikhfaa is here, right? Abu Qahar. A'amintum. So when you pronounce the ghunna is gonna count for two counts, right? And so that's about ikhfa. So just to recap what we've learned today, before we do our Kahoot quiz, everyone. So we started talking about ghunna, right? Last upper week we talked about ghunna. So ghunna is the sound that comes from the nose. So the sound that comes from the nasal cavity is called ghunna. And there could be 4 types of ghunna. So we said they are complete ghunna, or most complete ghunna, and the ones that are incomplete, and the ghunna that never happens at all. So we have most complete ghunna, incomplete, and most incomplete ghunna. And so we also talked about the difference between Noon Sakin and Tanween. So Noon Sakin is a noon that has a sukun, afsaku sukun, or it has nothing. That's a Noon Sakin, right? A Noon Sakin. It's called silent noon. And so when you see these kind of letters, how do you pronounce them in the Quran? We talked about them last week, right? So noon that's having nothing is a Noon Sakin. Or a noon that has a afsaku sukun on top of it is also a Noon Sakin, right? But this one here, when you pronounce it, it will sound as incomplete ghunna, because ghunna lasts for 2 counts. But because a noon that's having this one will not be having a complete sound of ghunna. So Tanween is like, it's like if you have a Noon Sakin that's written as doubled, that's a Tanween. When you have like Fathataini, Kasrataini, Domataini, those are like Noon Sakin. They're gonna pronounce the same like Noon Sakin. And so they are like just pronouncing Noon Sakin, but it's represented as doubled vowel sound, right? And so last week we talked about Izhaar. So Izhaar is when you pronounce the Noon Sakin clearly, you have an incomplete ghunna, right? You have an incomplete ghunna. And so this happens in 6 scenarios, right? Al-Izhaar, it happens in 6 scenarios. When you have an Hamza, or you have an Ayn, or a Ghayn, Ha, Kha. When any of these 6 letters come right after a Tanween or a Noon Sakin, you do what? You pronounce an incomplete ghunna. So you don't do like you did here. Sawiyan ala. Sawiyan ala. So the letter that comes right after the Tanween here, the Fathataini here, is an Ayn. And Ayn is among the letters of Izhaar. So what you do there is that you clearly pronounce the letter away from the ghunna. So the letter that comes right after the Tanween, you don't overshadow that letter with ghunna, right? I forgot your name. What's your name? Sorry, I forgot. Is it Ibrahim, right?
Yes.
Ibrahim.
And Aminat.
Amina. So Ibrahim, how would you pronounce this? This one here.
Ta.
Mu'tadin.
Mu'tadin.
Yeah. Athim.
Athimim.
So you don't say athimin. So I've already talked about this earlier with Buqaha. You don't pronounce the last, symbol of the letter if they are fatha, kasra, dhamma, or if they are dhammatayni or kasratayni. When you're stopping on a letter and you see all these signs, you don't pronounce that letter. So this one is going to be athim. So you give this letter a sukun. Any letter that's having any of this, when you stop on them, you're going to give them a sukun like this. Athim, mu'tadin, athim, mu'tadin, athim. Right, so you're going to learn all those back in the class when you start your curriculum module next month. So this one is min hamim, right? Min hamim, right? So can you do that? Can you do this one here, Amina?
Min ghislin.
So you don't say min, you say min. So this is what we are talking about. So Izhaar, you have an incomplete ghunna. So you take away the letter away from ghunna. The letter that comes right after, like for instance, now the line here, you don't pronounce it with ghunna. So it's going to be min. So So we say min ghislin. Say min ghislin. Okay. I do have a call in a bit, so that's, you know, we talked about the Izhaar, and also we talked about Ikhfaa today. So Ikhfaa is what we talked about today. In Ikhfaa, you have the letter is actually hiding. The letter is actually hiding under the Noon Sakinah or under the Ghunna. So in Ikhfaa, when you do Ikhfaa, so the letter that comes right after the Tanween, it's either of any of these 15 letters. They will be hiding on that. They will be shadowed, you know, it's going to be overshadowed by the Ghunna of the Izhaar Ikhfaa. So like Kaf, Ta, Jim, Tha, Dal. Okay. So because you guys joined late, that's why I try to revise that. Normally we take like 20-25 minutes in this class. I was planning to have the quiz, but I have another class right now. So next week, inshallah, maybe we're gonna have the quiz together, making it 10 quizzes. So that we'll have another class right now, inshallah. So make sure you guys join early on time next week so we can learn and do the quiz. Maybe I'm gonna add more quizzes to the one we're gonna learn next week. We're gonna revise Ikhfaa. I will learn about other rules of Noon Sakinah. There are 4 rules. We have Ikhfaa, Izhaar, Idghaam, Iqlaab. So hopefully we're gonna finish the Idghaam next week and learn the Iqlaab the following week. And so we can have a Kahoot quiz next week to revise 3 of the rules that we're learning. We'll revise Ikhfaa, we're gonna revise Izhaar, and also learn the Idghaam next week, inshallah. Okay, so I'm sorry we couldn't do the Kahoot right now. We will do it next week, inshallah. You guys have any question? Do you guys have questions? So Ikhfaa will be revising Ikhfaa next week, inshallah. We're gonna be revising Ikhfaa next week. So because of this, inshallah, we'll revise it again and go back to Ikhfaa. So Izhaar is just a bit you guys practiced. We started the class. So the class starts at 5 p.m. UK time every Sundays. So to get a good hang of it, try to join on time before your class will start next month, inshallah. Okay, I'll see you guys next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam.